The colony of Nova Terra glowed like a jewel in the darkness of space. For 50 years, humans had called this planet home. Under Governor Kim's leadership, they had built cities, farms, and research centers across its surface. 3 million people lived peaceful lives here, far from Earth. On this ordinary day, Lieutenant Commander Park sat at her station on Outpost Sentinel-7, the closest Earth military base to Nova Terra. She checked routine reports and sipped her morning tea. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and her uniform was crisp as always. Another quiet day, she said to herself. Then her screen flashed red. An emergency signal from Nova Terra made her teacup slip from her fingers and shatter on the floor. This is Nova Terra Central Command. We are under attack. Unknown alien vessels have entered our atmosphere. Our defenses are failing. We need immediate help. Park's heart raced as she tried to respond. Nova Terra, this is Outpost Sentinel-7. What is your situation? How many ships are attacking? Static filled the channel. Then a broken voice came through. They're everywhere, hundreds of ships. Our shields are down. They're landing in the central city. The transmission cut off suddenly. Nova Terra, come in, Nova Terra, Park shouted at her console. No answer came. She hit the emergency. Alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the outpost as she called her superior officers. Sir, Nova Terra is under attack by unknown forces. We've lost contact with their command center. Hours passed with no word from the colony. Park and her team tried every communication channel. They pointed all their long-range scanners toward Nova Terra. The images they received showed fires burning across the planet's surface. Strange ships surrounded the colony like hungry wolves. Who are they? Asked a young officer beside Park. I don't know, she answered, but they'll pay for this. On Earth, 12 hours after the attack began, the Unified Defense Council gathered in their underground chamber. 20 men and women in military uniforms sat around a large table. Their faces were grim as they watched the final footage transmitted from Nova Terra. The recording showed alien ships with sleek, dark hulls descending through the clouds. They fired strange weapons that melted through buildings like they were made of ice. Colonists ran through the streets as tall, pale creatures walked among them, taking some alive and killing others with cold efficiency. When the recording ended, the room fell silent. Admiral Lee, head of Earth's defense forces, stood slowly. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of the table tightly. Nova Terra has fallen, he said simply. All 3 million colonists are presumed dead. The words hung in the air like a physical weight. Someone gasped. Another council member put his head in his hands. Do we know who attacked them? Asked. General Mint Admiral Lee nodded to a young intelligence officer who stood and activated a holographic display. We've identified them as a previously unknown species. Based on intercepted communications, they call themselves the Voidborn. We know nothing about their civilization or why they attacked us. One thing is clear, Admiral Lee said. This was not a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate attack on a peaceful colony, an act of war. He pressed a button, and a new image appeared above the table. It showed thousands of ships in storage facilities hidden throughout the solar system. For 200 years, since the Great War, Earth has maintained a secret defense doctrine. For every active military vessel, we keep 100 more in reserve. The time has come to use them. The council members looked at each other in shock. Most had heard rumors of the reserve fleet, but few knew its true scale. Admiral Lee continued, his voice firm and cold. I am activating Protocol Vengeance. All shipyards will begin updating and deploying the reserve fleet immediately. We will recall all retired military personnel. We will institute emergency production of new vessels. You're talking about war on a scale humanity hasn't seen in centuries, said one council member. I'm talking about justice, Admiral Lee replied. I'm talking about showing the galaxy that humanity protects its own. He looked each council member in the eye before speaking his final words. The Voidborn destroyed one colony. They killed 3 million innocent people. They believe we are weak. They are wrong. Earth will respond with overwhelming force. We will unleash 700,000 warships. We will show them the true cost of their actions. The Council voted unanimously to approve Admiral Lee's plan. Within hours, dormant shipyards throughout the solar system hummed to life. The news spread across Earth and its remaining colonies. Humanity prepared for war. On Outpost Sentinel-7, Lieutenant Commander Park received new orders. She would lead a small scouting force to gather intelligence on the Voidborn, while the Armada prepared. As she looked at Nova Terra through her viewport, now dark except for the fires still burning on its surface, she made a silent promise to the lost colonists. "We will not forget. We will not forgive. We are coming." News of Nova Terra's destruction spread quickly across Earth and its remaining colonies. People gathered in parks, homes, and public squares to watch the emergency broadcasts. Their faces showed shock, grief, and anger as they learned about the attack. In Moscow, an old man wept as he remembered his daughter and grandchildren who had moved to Nova Terra 5 years ago. In New Lagos, students held candles in a night vigil for the lost colony. In Sydney, thousands lined up at military recruitment centers. For once, Earth's many nations and factions stood united. The planet's leaders met in an emergency session that lasted 3 days. When they emerged, they announced full support for Admiral Lee's plan. "Humanity will respond as one," the Earth President declared. The attack on Nova Terra was an attack on all of us. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility hidden from public knowledge for 2 centuries, Technician Song worked without rest. She had been assigned to Dock Complex Alpha, one of 50 such facilities around the solar system. Her job was to help prepare the reserve fleet that few people knew existed. Song wiped sweat from her forehead as she climbed inside another mothballed warship. The vessel had been in storage for decades, sealed away with thousands of others. Now it needed to be checked, updated, and made ready for war. "How many more today?" asked her colleague, Technician Bay, as he passed her a new diagnostic tool. 25 down, 30 more to go," Song replied, her voice tired but determined. "The Admiral wants this batch ready by tomorrow." Bay nodded and climbed into the next ship. "I still can't believe we had all these just waiting. My grandfather used to tell stories about the reserve fleet, but I thought they were just old tales." Song shook her head. "After the Great War, Earth decided to always be prepared. For every ship in active service, 100 more were built and hidden away. Now we're waking them all up." Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Hidden bases on Mars, Venus, and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn revealed their secrets. Massive underground facilities on Earth opened doors that hadn't moved. In generations, everywhere engineers and technicians worked to prepare humanity's response. In orbit around Earth, Director Choi oversaw the largest shipyard in the Sol system. From his command center, he could see hundreds of vessels being upgraded with the latest weapons and defense systems. Robots and human workers moved across the hulls of ancient warships, bringing them back to life with modern technology. "Director, we've received new orders," his assistant said, handing him a tablet. "Admiral Lee wants production of the new ion pulse weapons accelerated. All ships are to be equipped with them." Choi nodded and signed the authorization. The ion pulse technology was experimental, but tests showed promising results. If the scouting reports about Voidborn vulnerabilities were correct, these weapons could be decisive. Meanwhile, at the Lunar Military Academy, Training Officer Captain Yoon faced a room full of fresh recruits. Some were barely adults, their faces still holding traces of childhood. All had volunteered within hours of the attack on Nova Terra. "You think you're ready for war?" Captain Yoon said, walking between their rows. "You're not, but we have 6 months to make you ready." She activated a holographic display showing the Voidborn ships that had attacked Nova Terra. "This is our enemy. We know very little about them. We don't know why they attacked us. We don't know if they have more ships or what other weapons they possess. What we do know is that they destroyed one of our colonies without warning or mercy." The recruits' faces hardened as they studied the images. "Your training will be the most intensive in the Academy's history," Yoon continued. "You will learn in months what normally takes years. Some of you will not make it through. Those who do will join the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled." In a classified briefing room orbiting Mars, Commander Park delivered her latest report to Admiral Lee and the High Command. Her scouting missions had yielded valuable intelligence about the Voidborn. "They've established bases across Nova Terra," she explained, showing detailed scans. "Their ships have superior firepower, but we've discovered weaknesses in their shield systems." Admiral Lee nodded. "And what of the colonists? Any survivors?" Park's expression darkened. We've confirmed they're conducting experiments on captured humans. The purpose is unknown, but it appears systematic. We've seen no evidence of survivors being treated humanely. The room fell silent as this information sank in. How long until... "The fleet is ready," Park asked finally. "We've recommissioned 15,000 ships so far," Admiral Lee replied. "At current pace, we'll have all 700,000 ready in 5 months." Park nodded. "My scouts will continue gathering intelligence. The Voidborn don't know we're watching them. They believe they've dealt with a minor species that will now cower in fear." Admiral Lee's eyes reflected the stars, visible through the briefing room's window. "Their mistake will be their last. Earth has awoken, and when we strike, they will understand the full measure of their error." The great machine of humanity's vengeance continued to build. Ships were prepared, crews were trained, and plans were made. Earth had been peaceful for generations, but it had never forgotten how to wage war. Commander Park's small scout ship, the Silent Hawk, drifted slowly behind a broken defense satellite. From this position, she could observe the Voidborn fleet, without being detected. Through her viewport, she saw dozens of their ships orbiting Nova Terra. Their vessels were sleek and dark, with strange glowing lines running along their hulls. "Magnify that area," Park ordered, pointing to a section of the planet's surface. Officer Jin adjusted the sensors. The screen showed a former human settlement now transformed into some kind of alien facility. Strange structures rose from the ruins of the colony's main city. "What are they building down there?" Jin wondered. "Nothing good," Park replied. Her face remained calm, but her eyes burned with controlled anger. For 2 weeks, her scout team had watched the Voidborn, learning their patterns and collecting data. What they had discovered was troubling. Park made her decision. "It's time. To make contact, prepare a communication channel." Her crew looked at her with surprise. Their mission had been observation only. "Commander, are you sure that's wise?" asked Officer Kang, her second in command. "We need to understand their intentions," Park explained, "and we need them to understand ours." She straightened her uniform and sat in the command chair. "Move us out of cover. Make sure our shields are at maximum." The Silent Hawk emerged from behind the debris and approached the Voidborn fleet. Almost immediately, several enemy ships turned toward them. "They've spotted us," Jin reported. "They're scanning our vessel." "Open a channel," Park ordered. "All frequencies." The main screen flickered, then filled with the image of a Voidborn. The alien was tall and thin with pale skin that seemed almost translucent. It had 4 eyes, 2 large primary ones and 2 smaller secondary eyes above them. All 4 stared at Park with cold interest. "I am Commander Park of Earth's Defense Forces," she said clearly. "I wish to speak with your leader about the attack on our colony." The alien studied her for a moment before responding. Its voice was surprisingly melodic, though the translation system gave it a mechanical quality. I am Supreme Commander Vor of the Voidborn Expansion Fleet. You are the first human brave enough to approach us directly." Park maintained a neutral expression. "We seek to understand why you attacked our colony without provocation." The alien made a gesture that might have been amusement. "Provocation? Your very existence in this sector is provocation. This region belongs to the Voidborn. Your colony was an infestation to be removed." Park's hands tightened slightly on the armrests of her chair, but her voice remained steady. "Nova Terra was a peaceful settlement. 3 million civilians lived there. They posed no threat to you." "Your colony fell easily," Vor stated, its 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Your defenses were primitive, your weapons ineffective, your species is weak." The alien leaned closer to the screen. "Earth will surrender immediately or face extinction. We have already begun studying your kind to determine your usefulness. Some may be kept as research subjects. The rest are unnecessary." Park allowed herself a small smile. "Before you make threats, Supreme Commander, you should understand what you've done." She nodded to Officer Jin, who transmitted a data package. "We've recovered evidence of your experiments on our colonists." The files contained images and video taken by Park's team from the outskirts of the alien facility. They showed humans in transparent containers, clearly alive but being subjected to various procedures. The footage was difficult to watch, but Park had made herself view it many times to fuel her resolve. The Voidborn commander's expression didn't change, but its secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of surprise Park had learned from their observations. "Your aggression has been noted," Park continued, "and so has your cruelty. Earth's response is coming." Vor's primary eyes narrowed. "You speak of response? Your planet is far from here. Your military is small. We have observed your patrol patterns. Your fleet cannot stand against us." Park stood from her chair. "You know nothing about humanity, Supreme Commander, nothing about our history or what we are capable of when threatened. You judged us by one colony. That was a mistake." She stepped closer to the screen. "I came here to offer you one chance. Withdraw from Nova Terra. Return any survivors. Leave this system and never return." The alien made a sound that the translator identified as laughter. "You are in no position to make demands." "I'm not making demands," Park replied calmly. "I'm offering mercy, something you denied our colonists." Vor's face showed what might have been contempt. "We need no mercy from lesser beings. When we are finished here, we will come for your Earth. Your species will serve the Voidborn or perish." Park nodded slowly. "I understand. You've made your choice." She turned to Officer Kang. "End transmission." The screen went dark. Park looked at her crew, their faces tense but determined. "Send all our data to Admiral Lee," she ordered. "The diplomatic approach has failed, as expected. Now Earth will speak in the only language the Voidborn will understand." As the Silent Hawk moved away from the Voidborn fleet, Park looked once more at Nova Terra below. The beautiful blue-green planet her people had called home, now scarred by alien occupation. "They believe we are weak," she said quietly. 6 months from now they will learn otherwise." 6 months to the day after Nova Terra's destruction, humanity's response emerged from shipyards throughout human space. Ships of all sizes moved into formation around Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and other human-controlled planets and moons. The sight was breathtaking. 700,000 warships, where once there had been just a few thousand. On the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Lee stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The massive dreadnought was the newest and most powerful ship in the fleet, built specifically to lead this mission. Through the main viewport, Lee could see thousands of vessels stretching into the distance, their running lights creating a sea of stars that rivaled the natural ones. "All fleet commanders report ready, Admiral," announced Officer Han from his communications station. Lee nodded, his face showing no emotion, though his heart beat faster. This was the largest military operation in human history. Each ship represented thousands of hours of labor. Each was crewed by volunteers who had trained day and night for this moment. "Begin jump sequence," Lee ordered. "First wave will establish the corridor. Main fleet will follow in standard formation." The new warp corridor technology was humanity's secret weapon. Born from desperate innovation after Nova Terra's fall, it allowed ships to create stable paths through space that others could follow. What would once have taken weeks of travel could now be accomplished in hours. The first 100 ships moved forward, their special engines glowing blue-white as they tore holes in space itself. Behind them, the rest of the armada prepared to follow. In her ship Vengeance's Blade, Commander Park reviewed the final intelligence reports from her scouts. For 6 months, they had watched the Voidborn, learning their habits, strengths, and weaknesses. "Their ships have superior firepower," Park explained to her officers, pointing to detailed schematics on the screen. "But their shield harmonics are vulnerable to focused ion pulses. Hit them here, here, and here." She marked 3 points on the enemy ship design, and their entire defense grid will collapse. Her second-in-command, Captain Kang, studied the information carefully. "They still outnumber us on the ground. Nova Terra has been turned into a fortress." Park nodded. "That's why we're bringing 700,000 ships. We'll overwhelm them in space first, then isolate their ground forces." As final preparations were made, a message arrived from Earth. The planet's leaders had recorded a joint statement for all fleet personnel. The main screen showed the Earth President standing before a simple blue backdrop. "Soldiers of humanity," she began, her voice strong and clear. "Today you embark on a mission of justice. 6 months ago, our enemies believed they had found an easy target. They believed humans were weak. They believed they could attack us without consequences. The president's eyes were hard as stone. They were wrong. In attacking Nova Terra, they attacked all of humanity. Today, they will learn what that means. The message ended, and silence filled the bridge of every ship. Then, one by one, engines flared to life. The Armada entered the newly established warp corridors, their passage leaving blue-white tears in space. The ships moved in perfect formation, a testament to the endless drills and simulations they had performed during the preparation months. Behind the main fleet came supply vessels, medical ships, and engineering craft. Everything needed not just to win a battle, but to reclaim and rebuild a world. In her quarters aboard Vengeance's Blade, Commander Park took a moment alone before they reached their destination. She opened a small box containing a piece of Nova Terran soil she had collected during her scouting mission. It was a personal reminder of why they fought. "We're coming," she whispered. The Void-born long-range sensors detected the approaching human fleet when they were still 2 hours away. At first, the alien operators thought their equipment was malfunctioning. The number of ships they detected couldn't possibly be correct. No species could assemble such a force. Supreme Commander Vor was awakened from sleep cycle and brought to the command center of the main Void-born base on Nova Terra's surface. "Show me," the commander ordered. The display activated, showing the approaching human armada. Vor's four eyes widened as the sensors confirmed what seemed impossible. Hundreds of thousands of warships were heading directly for Nova Terra. "How?" Vor demanded. Their colony fell so easily. Their defenses were nothing. Their ships few and weak. "We don't know," admitted the sensor officer, "but they will be here soon." Vor's mind raced. The Voidborn had conquered dozens of worlds, across 3 star systems. Never had they faced resistance like this. Their strategy had always been the same: strike quickly at isolated outposts, establish dominance, then demand surrender from the home world. It had always worked before. All ships to battle positions, Vor ordered. Activate planetary defenses. Send word to the home worlds, we need reinforcements. But even as the orders were given, Vor suspected they would not be enough. The Voidborn had made a terrible mistake in attacking this strange human colony. They had believed the ease of their victory showed human weakness. Now they would face human strength. In the darkness of space, Admiral Lee received confirmation that the Voidborn had detected their approach. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice reached every ship, every soldier, every person who had come to avenge Nova Terra. "All ships, prepare for battle. Remember why we are here. Remember Nova Terra." He paused, then added, the words that would be remembered in history books for centuries to come. "You took one colony. We're taking back everything." The human armada arrived at Nova Terra in waves. First came the fast attack vessels, then the mid-sized cruisers, and finally the massive dreadnoughts. 700,000 ships filled the space around the once peaceful colony world. Their hulls gleamed in the light of the system's sun, weapons ready and shields humming with power. On the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Lee watched as his forces took position. The tactical display showed a perfect formation, blocking all escape routes for the Voidborn occupiers. "They're scrambling," reported Officer Han. "Voidborn vessels are moving to defensive positions." Admiral Lee nodded. The enemy fleet numbered only a few hundred ships. They had been enough to overwhelm a single colony, but now they faced the full might of humanity's response. "Open a channel," Lee ordered. "All frequencies." When the communication system connected, Supreme Commander Vor appeared on screen. The Voidborn leader's four eyes widened at the sight of Admiral Lee. "This is Admiral Lee of Earth's United Defense Fleet," Lee stated calmly. "You were warned. You chose not to listen." Vor's secondary eyes blinked rapidly. "This is impossible. Your species could not have assembled such a force." "You took one colony," Lee replied. "We're taking back everything. All ships, weapons free, execute battle plan retribution." The screen went dark as Lee cut the connection. Across the human fleet, weapons officers activated their systems. Thousands of ion pulse cannons powered up, targeting the specific shield frequencies that Commander Park's scouts had identified as vulnerable. The battle began with a synchronized attack. Human corvettes darted between larger Voidborn vessels, firing precise ion pulses at shield nodes. The larger cruisers and dreadnoughts launched waves of fighter craft that swarmed the enemy ships like angry insects. From the bridge of her command ship, Commander Park directed a special task force toward the planet's surface. Team Alpha, proceed to Landing Zone 1, she ordered. Team Beta, secure the research facility. Priority is rescuing any surviving colonists. The battle in space was swift and decisive. The Voidborn ships, formidable against a single colony, stood no chance against Earth's massive fleet. Their superior firepower meant nothing when faced with overwhelming numbers and tactics specifically designed to exploit their weaknesses. "They're trying to retreat," Officer Han reported to Admiral Lee. "3 of their command ships are attempting to reach the jump point." Lee's expression remained cold. "Cut them off. No escapes." As the Voidborn tried to flee, they discovered something shocking. Smaller human fleets had already used the new warp corridor technology to position themselves behind Voidborn lines. Their supply routes were cut off. Even their home systems were now surrounded by human warships. Within 3 hours, the battle for Nova Terra was over. The Voidborn fleet was destroyed or captured. Their ground forces surrendered when they saw human troops landing across the planet. 3 days later, Commander Park walked through the ruins of what had once been Nova Terra's central plaza. Buildings that had stood tall for decades were now broken shells. Gardens were trampled and burned. The silence was broken only by the sound of recovery teams working through the debris. Park knelt and picked up a child's toy half buried in the dust. It was a small stuffed animal, somehow surviving the destruction around it. She brushed it off gently and placed it in her pocket. "Was it worth it?" asked Captain Jun, who had accompanied her to the surface. "All this preparation, all these ships, just for revenge?" Park looked up at the sky where Earth ships now stood guard. In the distance, construction vessels were already beginning the colony's reconstruction. "We didn't start this war," she replied, "but we've shown the galaxy that humanity protects its own, no matter the cost." In a secure area nearby, medical teams worked with the few colonists they had managed to rescue from Voidborn laboratories. Of the 3 million who had lived on Nova Terra, only 217 had survived. The horror they had endured would leave scars that might never heal. Far away in the Great Chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations watched recordings of the battle with growing concern. The Council had existed for millennia, maintaining peace among the older species of the galaxy. Humanity was a newcomer, barely noticed until now. The humans' response was, "Excessive," said the Tellurian representative, his tentacles waving nervously. "It was proportionate to the threat they perceived," countered the Meridian ambassador. "The Voidborn violated every principle of civilized contact." The head counselor, an ancient being from a species that had traveled the stars for 1,000,000 years, raised a hand for silence. "We officially recognize humanity's right to defensive action," she declared. "The Voidborn attacked without provocation and committed atrocities against civilians." She paused, her luminous eyes troubled. "However, we must acknowledge that the human capacity for war is concerning. No species in Council records has maintained such a large hidden fleet. No species has responded with such overwhelming force. We must establish closer relations with Earth to ensure such power is used with wisdom." As the Council debated, humanity began the long process of rebuilding Nova Terra. Admiral Lee's fleet remained on guard, watching for any new threats. Earth's secret was now known to the galaxy, not just their capacity for vengeance, but their unwavering commitment to never again let one of their own fall undefended. The fall of one colony had revealed humanity's true nature to the stars, and the stars trembled.